Hello and welcome to the Sky Spirit channel. I'm Naomi. Today I'm going to be using my tarot cards to look at the situation with Ukraine. Now, I don't know if you've seen the news with Donald Trump and is it JD Vance and Zelensky having a bit of a spat on in the Oval, wasn't it? And it's sort of one of those situations where you think, gosh, is this like a precursor to World War III or what's going to happen now? It's a bit of a knife-edge situation. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to ask the tarot cards. Now, when I ask the tarot cards about situations like this, I don't want you to think that I'm being flippant about it, because I believe that the tarot cards can offer insight. I really do. I know they're used for entertainment as well, but I've been reading tarot cards for quite a while, and the amount of times that they do give you an insight into what's happening and the energies around particular situations is, I would say, spooky, but for me it feels quite normal. So I'm not I don't want you to think that I'm like exploiting a situation which is potentially so dangerous and involves the death and suffering of so many thousands of people, because I take this very seriously, is what I'm trying to say. So with that being said, what I'd like to do is just lay out a spread, and I'm thinking about the situation, particularly about whether what they were discussing in the Oval. This is a deal, isn't it, where Zelensky signs for sort of the US and Europe to go in, and it's something to do with minerals, but in turn they will offer protection against Russia or something like that. But it's that situation. So I'm thinking about that. I don't know a great deal about it, as you will have been able to tell by how I've just tried to describe it. So I'm really relying on the cards to give me an insight if they can. So we'll see what comes out. Right, just bear with me, and I'm going to lay my cards. Ooh, okay, that's really interesting. Right, looking at this spread straight away, and I'll put a photograph of the spread, because I haven't got my camera set up today so that you can see it. But looking at this has got so much suffering and fighting and heartache going on there, but there's also quite a few major arcana cards, which, when you're talking about major cards, they are often indicative of big changes, whereas the minors are more about sort of everyday occurrences, like the trials and tribulations of everyday life. So there's a lot of majors here, which is talking about huge shifts. And I've also got quite negative cards here. I have both the 9 and the 10 of Swords, which, if you know your tarot, you'll know that they're not particularly nice cards, but I'm going to read these in placement now. So what I'm looking at is the question concerns, it is coming out that Ukraine is such a beautiful place and has these fabulous resources. The 9 of Pentacles, for me, is about this lady standing in a beautiful garden. She has the bird on her hand and she's surrounded by flowers, and it's like she has a beautiful home and beautiful surroundings. And I think that's giving you it's symbolic of Ukraine as a country and the resources that it has and the life that the people used to lead and what they would like to lead in the future. But crossing that, you've got the 5 of Wands. Now, when I look at the 5 of Wands, I always think that they're sort of doing a dance, but it's about competition as well. So it's like there are competing factors within Ukraine. So it feels to me that there's it's like some factors are pushing other factors to be involved. So it's not as straightforward as like there's one movement in Ukraine, or one group of people wanting one thing and one, it seems like there's competing ideas, and some people will want one solution, some people will be very set on another one. So it seems to me like this is telling me, these cards together, is that the country is divided and there's no easy answer for them, even even without involving other countries. It seems to be that there's a lot of confusion as to what's going to be the best outcome and what they actually want. Now, for me, this sort of speaks about perhaps there's some people in that country who want a different outcome to the one that the mainstream are reporting, or we're being told. So it's like there's a division in the country itself. Now, when I'm looking at the influences that underlie this, I've got the World, a major arcana card, but this was reversed. And to me, this is talking about there's a lack of vision or a failure going on here. So it's like the country is failing to see the true picture. I mean, I don't mean the country as in all the people in it. It's like as if there's a misinformation going on and the facts aren't being clearly given to the people who are feeling very divided, or to the two sort of divided fractions. Is it fractions or factions? I never know whether it is fractions or factions, but the two sides, and I'm not talking Ukraine, Russia here, or I'm talking within Ukraine, talking about there seems to be misinformation about what outcome they want, and this has been going on for quite some time. So it feels to me that there is there's been, before it became big news for us, it had been big news for them for a long time, and this sort of this infighting, this arguing about what should happen seems to have been on the cards, excuse the pun, for a good deal of time, and almost this has precipitated these actions that we see now. Now, I know that it's Russia that has invaded, but it feels like there has been this movement and this pushing and pulling between what's wanted in Ukraine for quite some time. And you can tell me I'm wrong if you like that. I'm just reading the cards. So this is what's coming out for me, is just this massive feeling of competing ideas here and misinformation. Now, interestingly, on the positions here that I have for events just preceding and events sort of just in the future, so either side of my little Celtic cross here, I've got one side is my Knight of Pentacles reversed, and the other side is my Knight of Wands, and that's in the upright position. Now this is like the Knight on the left hand side here, the Pentacles, is about resources, finances, material things, and because this is reversed, I'm feeling like this is about a stagnation in affairs, or money that's been misappropriated. So it's almost like there's been financial dealings that have been underhand, that have been going on in the very recent past. And this is it's feeling to me like this is within Ukraine itself. So I'm not quite sure how to describe it. It feels that there's resources that have been misused, or there is a mishandling of some finances going on there, and this is where some of the problems are culminating. They're coming from this area. So it's like there's a monetary problem there. Now, while I'm saying that, I'm thinking, well, yeah, it is, obviously is, because they don't have the money for the military that they need at the moment. But is it that straightforward? Because that, that's quite an obvious one. But it feels as if it's more to do with something deeper than that. So it's something that was not as immediate, not as close to us as that. So going back a little bit in time, going back before the Russian invasion this time, it feels like there has been a misappropriation of some kind of resources, or there's something which is causing friction there. Now when I go across, I'm going to move straight across to my Knight of Wands in the upright position here, and I feel like this is a real enthusiasm. So this is a really good card to have in this position, because it's talking about a forward movement, and it feels to me like there is a counterbalancing force to my reversed Knight of Pentacles, because there are two knights here, one that way, one that way. So the misappropriation or misuse of resources has really held this it's precipitated this conflict, but it feels like it's been a problem for a long time. But then this card, which is moving into the future, is like galloping into the future with a really renewed energy and renewed enthusiasm. And because we've got two knights here, I'm looking at this as a partnership of an alliance between, I'm going to say countries here, I'm going to stick my neck out and say countries, because obviously knowing a little bit about what's going on, I'm sort of rationalizing with what I know and what I'm seeing. But my two knights, because they're opposite each other, and remember I will put a picture of the spread here with this reading, and it feels like there is this two opposing forces, but there is an alliance that's moving forward, and it's taking the country and it's taking the situation, it's even taking this mismanagement of resources is coming out, it's taking that and it's making it, it's resolving it, and it's moving forward. Now, interestingly, my card at the top of my cross here is the Nine of Swords. Now, this card I like to look on, I like to call the mini outcome, and it's like what you could expect the outcome to be given the absolute current circumstances. Now, the Nine of Swords is quite a bad card. In fact, it is a really bad card, and it's often called the nightmare card. So it feels like, given the current circumstances in this spread, it's predicted it's a nightmare. It's fear, it's anxiety, it's worry, it's death, it's being scared. And I mean, it doesn't take a tarot reading to actually, it's not much of a prediction, is it? Because that's quite clearly what is happening now. But that card in that outcome position there is really telling me that it's, you know, what's happening at the moment isn't working, and there is no end to it, and the nightmare is being experienced so strongly by people, and there hasn't been a resolution on the table as yet, until we come to our Knight of Wands, which is moving across here, moving into the future. So currently, bad situation. Ray of light is my Knight of Wands here, galloping in with a solution. And as I said, I'm going to say that this is going to be an alliance between these two factors, these two countries. Okay, so whether that is America, whether it is Europe, whether it's a different country, Britain, Germany, France, whatever, I don't know. But I'm saying it feels like there is an alliance of countries that come together to move the situation forward. So interestingly, when you think about what's being discussed, I think from what I've seen, there's sort of talking about this deal and Europe and America getting involved, potentially to go in with the minerals, but also to offer some protection. And maybe that's what I'm seeing here on the cards too, is like this alliance between those two knights, moving from a positive, i.e. reversed, moving to the upright knight there, who's galloping in with the wand. The wand or the staff is about energy, it's about forward motion, it's about bringing new solutions to existing problems. And the existing problems at the moment, if they're left as they are, the resolution, the outcome here is the nightmare card, which is really disturbing. So we know that something's got to be done, and this is going to be the hope. Now, this is actually, it's a really positive thing, because I think for a long time people have thought, you know, how on earth can this be resolved? Because there's so many difficult things going on here, and it's quite tricky to work out, to think what could be a viable solution here, because you just can't think how it could be sorted out. But so this is almost saying, like, don't worry, because the cavalry has arrived and there is hope moving forward. So we can see that now this situation, this nightmare situation, is going to start to ease, and there's going to start to be some light at the end of the tunnel, I'm going to call it. So moving across to the other side of the Celtic cross here, I'm looking at sort of starting to look at what that solution could be. Now, the first card that is coming out here and is to do with it's to do with the self. Now, because I'm looking at a reading for a country or a situation, this is the Five of Cups, and if you can see here, the Five of Cups is about loss, and it's about walking away from something and leaving something behind. But when you look at this card, okay, this guy, his cups are all knocked over and his resources are all spilling out. But what he's failed to see as he walks away is that two of his cups here do remain full, and they're not been knocked over. So I think what this card is saying, it feels like the solution starts to be that it's going to feel like a loss at first. So it's going to be felt like, it feels like people are going to feel like they have had to give something up. So it's almost like an extreme compromise, whereas, in order for the good, then something has to be walked away from. So there's going to have to be something lost, something left behind. But it's important to sort of lay that against the context that those two upright cups, so there is a lot to be gained by walking away. And it almost feels like, when you back out of an argument and you compromise, I know that's really literal, but this is actually what the cards are saying as well. So it's like, it's almost that backing away, walking away from a situation, compromising. Yes, there will be things lost, but there are also things to be gained. And it's important to look at those things that have been gained. And I mean, it feels like an obvious card to come out in this position. And it feels like I'm, just repeating what's already known here, but it is actually what's shown on the cards. So, I can't make it any different here. So we're having a situation where the resolution's coming from walking away. There's going to have to be compromises. Now, the card above here, talking about really the environment, and we're starting to look at again how that solution might be implemented. And we have the Three of Pentacles. This is really a card about learning new things and new skills, and it can be sort of saying that there's going to have to be new skills learned in order for this resolution to take effect. So in order for peace to be made and for us really to avert not just not just the war in Ukraine, but also on a broader basis, you've got war in Europe or even World War III, for example, then in order for that to happen, then we really have to use our abilities. We have to learn new skills, and that's probably talking about from what I can see with this spread. It's almost like we have to learn from this situation in order for the whole world to be able to walk away from it whilst still keeping hold of the things that we have. We have to learn to be able to walk away in order to win a situation. So it's like, I'm not explaining that very well, am I? It's like you have to learn to be able to give something up. You have to learn to compromise. And I think we can safely say that there's not many politicians and leaders who seem to be very good at compromising. They all seem to want their own way. It's all about the ego. It's all about, it's my way or the highway. And I think all the big players in this, the Trump, JD Vance, Zelensky, Putin, they all seem to be coming from a place of ego where, it's my way or the highway. And that card's really saying you're going to have to learn the new skills. And as a society, we need to look on that, and we're all going to have to learn from this situation that, it's sometimes impossible for everybody to get what they want out of something, and there's going to have to be compromises from all the parties involved, not just Ukraine and Russia. It's like everybody involved in this situation is going to have to make compromises. And on the card, you can see it has these like older guys are having this really serious conversation here, and the kids like learning a skill, and he's demonstrating how good he is, that he's actually carving a pillar here. And this reminds us that, you know, these are the big players. So they're the people behind the scenes who are making the decisions, who are coming up with the policies, the solutions, putting, you know, the deals on the table. But it's the little people who are actually putting the hard work in. And it's sometimes it's tougher on the little people. It's tougher on the common man and woman when these deals are pushed through by the big people. So I think we've all got to learn that you know, it's something that we've all got to take on board, and there's going to have to be sacrifices made, and not just in the Ukraine and not just in Russia. It's like this is affecting globally. It's affecting us all. We're all the little people in this, and the sort of fallout from this seems to be spreading, and we're all sort of having to take it, having to learn new skills, having to cope with different situations that have been spawned because of this huge problem between between Russia and Ukraine, and between the countries that are involved with this. But it seems like this is deeper than just Russia invading Ukraine. This is older. This goes back to this card here, which is this misuse, this misappropriation of finances or resources. So there's something underhand that's gone on in the past that's underlying this situation. When I tie this with the world, which is my underlying card here, it feels like this is not just something that's happened in the Ukraine. So this mismanagement of resources, or something to do with money, but it's been a global thing. So there's a lot more players that have been involved in this situation than just the people in the Ukraine, or just the powers that are in the Ukraine. It's like there's been interference on a global level in this situation here. So interference in a mismanagement of resources has really caused this to happen in the first place. So it's always more complicated than you think, obviously, but it's really coming out that this has been more to do with resources, more to do with money than borders, more to do with, you know, people, the world getting involved. Poking the bear with a stick was the word I heard the other day, but I'm not just talking about, you know, poking Russia with a stick. It's like it's been back and forth, and it's been G'd up by other countries, other people getting involved and sticking their oar in for ulterior motives, has really caused this problem in the first place. Now, I'm moving back across to the resolution side of my Celtic cross here. Now, this is really interesting here. This is the card I like to call the hopes and fears card, and this is the devil reversed. Really good card. It doesn't sound like it, does it? The devil reversed, but it's about breaking free of chains and about the end of oppression. Now, if you can see on the devil card here, you've actually got, these are the two dudes off the lovers card, and they're chained to this big satanic figure. And when it's reversed, the chains are dropped, the chains are broken. So this is what the hope is. It's the hope that this situation would be resolved, but this is also telling us that the chains have come from this powerful negative entity. So it's like the driver of this whole situation hasn't been Ukraine or Russia. There is an underlying drive, which is a global drive, which is to do with this mismanagement of resources and mismanagement of money, misappropriation of these resources. But the hope for this is that the chains will fall away. So I see there will be a breaking of ties with a big superpower. Now, I'm not going. This isn't Russia. There is something else driving this war, and I see that what's going to happen is the chains, the ties that bind are going to be broken with this driving force, and that's how the resolution is going to come into play. So I see this happening because the card is in a favorable position here, and it seems to be telling us that if you look at the outcome card here, now the outcome card is the Ten of Swords. Now, this is like the global outcome. Ten of Swords can be extremely negative card, and it's about sort of the worst nightmare that you can imagine comes to pass. Okay, and this would be the outcome. However, and thankfully we can breathe again, this is reversed. So what I always say with this card is it's sort of saying it's disaster averted. So disaster has been averted, and the disaster has been averted because the chains have been broken with this really negative force that's driving this situation. So thank God that the worst isn't going to happen. So I'm seeing that, you know, we're all getting a bit worried about, wow, is this actually going to be the end of the world? Is this going to be nuclear war? Is this going to be, World War III? But we're being told here that no, it's not. The disaster is averted, even though it's such a serious situation here. And you've got the Nine of Swords was the mini outcome, which was literally the nightmare. So that is if the current energies are left as they are, nightmare. However, if we take on board the Knight of Wands and we take on board this forward momentum and then break the chains with this negative power that's been firing up this situation from the start, if the little people and us learn from this situation, lessons are learned, and we move forward, leaving behind some of the things that are going to feel like a loss, but remembering that we're taking forward those two upright cups, we're taking things forward with us, even though it feels like a loss, and the disaster will be averted. So all in all, although it's a spread that's filled with fear, with nightmare, with underhandedness here. That's a real sense of this spread here, is that underhandedness, negativity, things being driven, ulterior motives. This hasn't ever been about what we've been told on the surface. There are things driving this conflict which have been going on for years, but the hope is that the chains are broken, and the hope will break the chains, and the disaster that could have been World War III will be averted. So if you've enjoyed that reading, please subscribe to the channel, because I'd like to do more readings like this, and it would really help me to carry on. Have a lovely day ahead. Let's hope that this resolves really, really soon. It's such a terrible situation. And again, I'll remind you that I don't do any of this flippantly. I believe in the cards. I've seen them tell the truth a lot. I've seen, them explain situations so well. So I really believe what I'm seeing here, and hopefully we can pray that this is the outcome and this is what's going to happen. So I'll see you next time, and stay weird.